She said, I don't know who's singing, but it sounds like fingernails on a blackboard. We lived in a very small apartment, and the walls were paper thin. And I knew, to elicit that type of response from my mother, Led Zeppelin was going to be a hit. My mom, who had fire engine red hair, infectious smile, she could sell ice to Eskimos. She was a self-made woman. She was dynamic. She was frugal. She earned her way up the ladder to become the very first woman vice president at the largest bank in Dallas. After she retired 46 years of being at the bank, she traveled the world. Unbelievably traveled the world. And then, I forgot what I was going to say. She actually did this. She became an artist. And she donated all of her artwork to her favorite charities that she volunteered for. Her nickname was Steamboat because she was so determined. Now, in my youth, my mother drove me to football practice every day so we could prepare for the big game on Saturdays. That all changed on September the 18th, 1964, when the Beatles came to Dallas for a concert. My sister said, we've got to go see the Beatles. So we all piled into the car, drove to the arena. When we got to the parking lot, big limousine drives in. And behind the windshield, you could see John, Paul, George, and Ringo. My sister went crazy. When we got into the arena, there was even more mayhem. If you've ever been on a roller coaster or a wild ride, amplify what you heard on that ride 18,000 times. It was that loud in that arena. As the days passed, all you could hear on the radio was Beatles music. And through osmosis, I became a Beatles fan. In fact, it was a catalyst for me to start my own band. I recruited 3 other musicians, and our first gig was at our school talent show. And aside from the music we played, what we remembered most is the black corduroy pants that we all wore in unison, about 4 to 5 inches too short. The girls called us the pedal pushers. When we got to high school, girls and sports became more important. So the band disbanded. And my mom became a big football fan. She came to every game. And the one I remember the most was the last game against our crosstown rivals. The score was 14-14. Last quarter. We just held them on our 1-yard line, 4 consecutive plays for a goal line stand. On the next play, I was a halfback. Quarterback giving me the ball in the end zone. I hit the 1-yard line. Gaping hole, I cut to my left. I ran up the left sideline, cut back to the middle of the field at the 50 to avoid a couple of tacklers. At the 30, a defender dives for my feet, and I high-step it, and I avoid the tackle at the 5-yard line. There was a big clump of grass. I tripped over it. Fell at the 1-foot line. On the next play, we scored and won the game 21-14. When I got home, my mom says, Bruce, you played a great game. And here's a blade of grass. I want you to always remember to put one foot in front of the other as you're moving toward your goal. My mother had a great sense of humor. After graduating from high school, I went to college. But music was more important. So for the next 3 years, I played in a band, and I worked odd and end jobs. Now, that metaphor, blade of grass metaphor that my mother said, put one foot in front of the other, always I remembered that in my mind. And it inspired me to go back to college and get my degree. What I remember about my mom is the influence she had on my music, the sports that I played, work ethic, getting that important education. And I recall another mother asking my mom some advice regarding her son who wanted to become a musician and play in a band. And she said, you know, you might want to tell him this. Go to college or be a plumber. Then go play your music. But make enough money to pay the rent. And don't come home.
I'm afraid.